ACB. Below each letter, dots representing the letter in Braille. American Council of the Blind, together for a bright future. Strategic Planning Committee, moderated by ACB President Dan Spoone with Lee Nasehi and ACB Executive Director Eric Bridges. Dan Spoone, ACB President.
Good afternoon, ACB leaders. We are excited today to bring to you our ACB strategic plan. It is part of our efforts over the last 2 years to implement the Enterprise Operating System, EOS, also known as Traction. You can see more information about this if you want to understand it by looking up a book by Gino Wickman that lays out the EOS Traction Operating System. ACB began its journey in April of 2020 to implement a methodology that would really allow us to provide structure and accountability to our organization. And we were fortunate enough to have one of our own ACB advisory board members, Lee Nasehi, who was a trained EOS implementer. And we're happy and excited to see and hear from Lee today. Eric, what are your thoughts about our initial trip down the EOS journey?
Well, it's been a heck of a journey because it happened to coincide with a pandemic, right? So we had made the decision as a leadership team in the fall of 2019 that we would, engage in this process in 2020. And as the pandemic came on and all of us began working from home, it became clear to me that we really needed to continue forward in implementing this and getting started to implement it, because just the nature of remote work, figuring out process and structure for how we were going to do the work that needed to be done. And EOS wound up being an even better fit for what we needed at the time than it may have been even a year previous. We were also beginning to mature in developing a leadership team and developing core values ahead of EOS as well. So there was a lot of work that had been done, and I think the pandemic, at least from my perspective, Dan, showed us the need to go on this EOS journey.
It really, really did. And as we have Lee explain this today, I want to paint a visual for you all. So think of a piece of pie or a clock, or I say a whole pie that's broken into 6 pieces. And so starting at 1 o'clock and going clockwise around the pie or the clock, there's 6 different components that make up Traction. And I'd love for Lee to take a moment and introduce herself and share a little bit about the Traction model. So Lee?
Thank you, Dan. So I am currently the president and CEO of VisionServe Alliance, which ACB is a member of. And in that capacity at VisionServe Alliance, offer consulting services to our members that help strengthen their organizations. And this model, this framework, EOS, is particularly helpful. It's great for for-profits, not-for-profits, and I'm just thrilled that ACB took this on. I have been on the journey with them and seen the transformation. So allow me for a moment to walk through the model as Dan suggested. Imagine a pumpkin pie that's been cut into 6 pieces, and there's an orange right in the middle of it, and that orange is ACB. And the 6 pieces of pie describe the different elements of your organization. We're going to start with vision. So there is a vision that is shared by all in a healthy organization. That covers your core values, your core focus, your long-term target, how you're approaching marketing, your sort of interim picture, and your 1-year plan. And we go a little further where we break those 1 year plans down into quarterly objectives, or what is called rocks. And last but not least is understanding the issues that kind of get in your way. So that's all part of vision, the first element of the model. The second is people. We all love to joke that it'd be an easy job if it weren't for people, but people is what drives the organization, especially a membership organization like ACB. So evaluating people is difficult. It can be very subjective, and there's some tools that you learn in this framework that really helps with that. First of all, you have a very helpful, what is called an EOS language, accountability chart. It's an org chart, an organizational chart, but it talks about the accountability of each of those positions, making sure you have the right people in the right seat. So that's people, the second element. The third is data. So entrepreneurial or enterprise leaders often have, kind of weird feelings about how their organizations are really doing. If you're not tracking it, if you're not measuring what you're doing, it's really hard to wrap your arms around it. So one of the first things ACB did in this journey was develop their very own scorecard. What are the measurables that matter to ACB? What gets measured gets done. The fourth element are issues. And so one of the things that I think the whole team has really enjoyed doing, and I understand has started to teach some of the other affiliate teams and committees how to use, is something called IDS, how to problem solve. Identify it, discuss it, and solve it. Gino says in his book that there's, maybe 40 issues that we all talk about constantly. Every organization, doesn't matter how big or how small, it's essentially all the same 40 issues that we keep rehashing. Wouldn't it be great to figure out how to solve those and move on? So that's the fourth element, IDSing. And then the fifth is process. And so having simple processes that are written down, articulated, shared with everyone, and all of the organizations start to use it, it can be incredibly helpful, documented and followed by all. And last but not least is traction. How do you get things done? So you have all these nice visions and great words and guiding principles. Well, traction focuses on how you meet, having your L10 meetings, which I understand a lot of you are involved in, conducting an L10 meeting on a regular basis with a regular rhythm, with a typical agenda, and then looking at your objectives on a quarterly basis, a 1 year basis, and long term. That's all part of getting traction, the rhythm going. So that is it in a nutshell. There is the EOS model, Dan.
Well, thank you, Lee. And as you stated, we've loved the L10 meetings, and as we see those roll out throughout our organization, we really are seeing a significant change. It's really pushing people towards a more structured agenda, and they feel good at the end of the meeting. They've met and learned a little bit about each other and done some team building. They've gone through their data, they've shared their headlines, reviewed their rocks, done their to-dos, and then they've had some time to really IDS, to identify, discuss, and solve issues that are affecting their particular committee, whether it be an individual committee or a steering committee. So we really believe that we are experiencing traction in that area. But it really all got started in 2019 when we, as an organization, before we even knew about traction and EOS, realized that we needed a set of core values that really was the compass, was the foundation for how our organization was going to be behaved, what we valued, what we really thought was important for both our members and our staff. And we spent probably about a year working on this, and it happened at the end of Kim Charleson's administration. We published our 5 core values, which are integrity and honesty, respect, collaboration, flexibility, and initiative. And Lee, I'd like you to take a moment and kind of read the definitions for each of those, because the words are important, but I think the definitions even paint a more important and stronger message and picture of what we mean when we say our core values.
Oh, yeah, I'd be happy to do that. So, integrity and honesty is our word is our bond and serves as a foundational element demonstrating our strong democratic principles and values. Respect. We treat others as we expect to be treated. We welcome the unique talents of every individual and honor diverse work and lifestyles. Collaboration. We believe success comes from working together to create solutions that advance the organization's mission through partnerships and teamwork. Flexibility. We adapt to ever-changing circumstances and situations. Boy, you could say that again, huh?
Oh, yeah. Boy, we've been living that one for the last 2 years.
Every day.
Yeah.
We are receptive to multiple points of views and ideas. Initiative. We can and do make a difference in all of our efforts. We embrace continuous learning, hard work, personal accountability, motivation, and individual responsibility.
And I think that, thank you, Lee, for reading those. And Eric, if you could take a moment and just share with everyone how these core values are integrated into our quarterly and annual employee evaluations and even our hiring practices as we move forward. I mean, I know we did our review here at the end of the year, and we started out by talking through the core values. And for each employee, we identify in that particular core value, are you a plus minus, or a minus? We've got some real work to do if we've got folks in the minus area, but even if you're in the plus minus area, it says there's an opportunity here for you to work on improving a little in this core value. So Eric, if you'd kind of share how that has integrated into your employee performance reviews.
Sure. So we actually, for the fiscal year 2021, adopted the EOS performance evaluation model. And so it's essentially like a one-page evaluation, and it's fantastic. The core values are there in the actual evaluation. You have the opportunity to evaluate the folks that work for you, and in each of those 5 areas, as you said, Dan. The good thing is that we have a lot of folks that are working on our team that are high character and very driven people. And so, and in saying that, as we look at the last year where we've hired several new individuals for brand new positions, and then hired some other folks for vacated positions, these core values really were at the center of recruitment, looking and asking questions that were targeted at these areas to really gain a better understanding of the finalist for a position, to ascertain whether or not they were going to be a good fit for our organization. As you all know, ACB is still a capacity constrained organization in terms of staff. And so the people that we bring on, number one, the roles are strategic that we build and recruit for to fill an understood need. But then to bring that person in, they need to be the right person. And we're not always going to, hit it at 100%. But when we do these, when we recruit, we really need to have a good level of assurance that the person that we hire is going to come in and just get to work and be a good team player. And a good listener. And so these 5 core values are really at the center of our recruiting efforts.
It is, and I think we have seen the core values promulgated, across all of our events and down through our affiliates, and it's really it's brought a smile to my face to see how much our membership has embraced our core values. So once you kind of have your core values in place, you then have to think about your vision or your core focus. Why do we exist? What makes us unique from other entities? And so it was important for us to develop our purpose and our passion, and then tie that together with our niche. And together, those create our core focus. And so I'd like Lee to read our core focus or vision statement.
They're both so beautiful. So your purpose statement is very simple: empowering people who are blind. That says it all. That's what ACB's purpose is, to empower people who are blind. And the niche: by embracing all of us in the spirit of collaboration, we foster voice, choice, and community. I love that one too.
I really do. I think it really it demonstrates the spirit of our organization. Lee, I want you to read it one more time all together.
Sure. Okay. Empowering people who are blind. By embracing all of us in the spirit of collaboration, we foster voice, choice, and community.
Very good. And Eric, I think, again, we're living this. Our goal, and you'll see this in our 5-year target, is to become the chief influencer in the blind and low vision community. And we get there by really empowering all blind people and giving them a chance to collaborate and really have a voice and a choice and a community to work within. So I know you'd like to comment on this a little bit and how the staff and the members have worked together to meet this vision.
Yeah, and it's really shown itself to be prophetic over the last 2 years with the pandemic and all of us not being able to physically be together with one another, and the need of the staff and affiliate leaders to have contact with members and to form a virtual ACB community as we have, right? To give voice, to be able to talk about all different types of subject matter, and in doing so, then form a community. And we're north of 7,000 community events. The 17th is the 2-year anniversary of our ACB community. And we have empowered so many during that time and continue to. The community events and that universe has not plateaued. It's continuing on, and it's powerful to witness.
And it truly is collaboration that leads to voice, choice, and community. It's been such a good spirit to see inside of our organization. And then the other part that we have to concentrate on is our target market. What makes us unique? What separates us from others? And so we have identified 6 uniques as the traction methodology would ask us to do, to really identify what makes ACB unique. So Lee, if you could read those.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, we live by our core values. Next, accepting, welcoming, and non-judgmental. Embrace choice. There's no one way to do things. Democratic. Innovative and agile, willing to meet people wherever they are. And a friendly face, even in contentious situations. So those are the 6 things that make ACB's interactions and work in the community different.
And it truly is the culture we are building each and every day. And of course, it always starts to me with the democratic purpose or process of our organization. Everyone has a vote. We really demonstrated that this year when, for the first time, we actually opened up our elections, not to just people that were at our convention, but everyone who was a member had an equal right to vote and vote independently and accessibly. And it was just a huge step forward for our organization. So that's just one example of where these uniques are playing out each and every day. Mm-hmm. Eric, I know you have some thoughts in this area.
Yeah, I tell you, these uniques, I feel like ACB has been doing a lot of this for years, and it's part of what's made it unique, being welcoming and as a national organization of blind people, non-judgmental, and providing a choice, and so putting it down into writing, I think has been a great exercise for us. At times things can get stuck in our head, but actually seeing that there and sharing it with you all, I think is very important. This is how the leadership is viewing why you should want to be with us, or why you should want to join us.
Most certainly. And now let's start talking about our true strategic goals. Our 5-year target, our 1-year strategic plan, and the 5-year target. The kind of the coined phrase there is big, audacious, hairy goals, or BHAGs, right? You're really, what's out there that, if you had to dream, if you had to kind of, think where would that point at the end of the horizon be for ACB in 5 years? This is our 5-year target. And, it's at a fairly high level, but I think as you see this and hear this, you'll realize, where we want to be at the end of 2025. So Lee, I'm going to ask you to read our 5-year targets.
Sure. So as you mentioned already, the first one is to be the chief influencer on matters impacting the blind and low vision community. Next, to have 100,000 connections and 20,000 members. So a little bit of a difference there. Actual dues paying members, 20,000, but a much broader community of connections of 100,000. And then have annual revenue of $5 million. Have an active affiliate in every state. Have reserves of 18 months operating expense. And finally, triple ACB's legacy endowment from $1.6 million to $4.8 million.
Thank you for reading those, Lee. And, it's really important to write this stuff down and make it real. And it's been what your leadership team has been striving to do here since we began the plan at the beginning of 2021. And we're on that journey. When we talk about 100,000 connections, wow, that sounds like a lot. But I want to share with you a little bit of data, because data is also what is, really influencing us and driving us. So we want metrics that we can actually measure and see how we are stacking up. We want to hold ourselves accountable. So just as one example, for our website, just this last month, we had, I believe, over 20,000 unique visitors with over 50,000 pages shared.
Wow.
So that's almost doubled in the last 12 months from 10,000 and the number of, I think it was 10,000 and 17,000 pages. So you can see that we're growing, and we're growing in our other social media areas of Facebook, of LinkedIn, of Instagram, of Twitter. And so there's all those contacts. And then we're seeing, our at-large members grow, our friends of ACB grow. So what we're realizing is that all these individuals have an opportunity to influence our mission and our goals. Everybody doesn't have to be a a membership dues paying member of ACB to make a difference in our community. Eric, I know you all are driven every day as a staff by these goals. So I know would like to share some items in this area. Yeah.
Data is something that this organization has gotten much better at, both collecting and also analyzing. And then really the third step is having it become part of the decision-making process for next steps. Maybe not having it always be the driver, but having it be there instead of some notional or anecdotal feeling, which we've encountered in the past, right? So the data component is very large. Also, looking at the data and there's a bullseye that we've developed that in the center is the family, and the next circle out is family or friends. I'm sorry, family's in the center. Friends is the next ring out. The next ring out is a follower. The fourth ring out is familiar, and the fifth ring out is unfamiliar. And so looking at those 5 concentric circles or a bullseye, putting together definitions for what is a family member, what is a friend, or who is a friend, and so on and so forth. The time that they spend with us, the treasure or the money that they give to the organization, and time, treasure, and their talent, giving of themselves, for our volunteer hours, right? We talk about volunteer hours with all of our committees, and all of that leads us into really looking at the data and how are we progressing through these circles, and how can we help folks, let's say donors, move from friends to family, or how can we help folks that are currently only familiar, bring them in the next circle to be followers. So it's important stuff that we're developing. It's a method to our madness.
It truly is individual touches in developing the number of people that are in our circles, if you really think of it that way, in our sphere. And then not only do we need people, that's the number one most important part, but we also need funding. We need financial stability. And I hope it didn't just sneak by you guys that target is $5 million. This year's budget is approximately $2.5 million. So we're hoping to double that in 3 years, which is a pretty lofty goal, but we've come up 60% in the last 2 years, from 1.6 to 2.5. So, we are on a growth curve. So Lee, we've talked a little bit about our 5-year targets. So think about that, guys out there, where we're trying to get to. And then let's talk a little bit about our 1-year plan. So what are we trying to get done this year? And you'll hear rocks for the first, second, third, and fourth quarter, all building towards this annual plan for 2022. So I'm going to have Lee, and you're going to see that this is much more specific and really, can easily be turned into objectives or rocks that we can work on to get this done this year. So Lee, if you could share the 1-year plan for everyone.
Yeah, sure. So we're going to start with revenue. And as Dan said, that your target, your goal for this year, 2022, is just shy of $2.5 million, $2,498,500. And if Nancy wrote it, it'd probably be N29 That's a little insult.
Most certainly.
Most shot across the bow.
Love you, Nancy.
We love you, Nancy. That's right.
Oh, sorry. And so there are 10 different revenue categories. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to point out that far and away the largest revenue category are contributions. So combining general and restricted contribution, that is about $850,000. So that's the biggest revenue source, followed by convention, which is about 561,000. That's the goal for convention revenue. Fundraising activities, 378,000. I think what's interesting is the very smallest revenue category is membership dues. Only 55,000, a little over $55,000 is projected of that $2.5 million budget. So lots of work there. And then a couple of other measurables, that there will be 16 total employees by the end of this year. And where are you right now, Eric?
We're close.
Yeah.
At the recording of this, I believe we're at 15. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
And members, 10,676 for the year. Another somewhat odd number, but 10,676. And do we know where we are at this point?
I think we're a little south of 9,000. So we've got some work to do here over the next 9 months. We're on track. Yep,
you'll surely gain many new members through convention. I think that's typical. So those are the measurables, and then some other more like narrative goals are to have a successful hybrid. Well, actually, it's all virtual, right? DC Leadership Conference.
DC Leadership Conference. Yep. That's right.
Yep. Hybrid convention, and then a successful AD gala, and then to successfully implement ACB's remote voting initiative. That's a big one. Further the multicultural affairs initiatives, including assuring the implementation of membership-driven Spanish language communications. And then also to have implemented a fully functional ACB media structure and processes, to augment the processes and measurables for resource development. When you're raising that much money, you definitely need structure and articulated processes. Next is establishing regional community structures and opportunities and activities for members in those regions to connect and enhance constituent engagement. Enhance organizational cultural health and constituent relationships and engagement. Fully integrate strategic data collection into decision making. That's a short sentence that has a whole lot behind it. And then develop a stakeholder engagement plan and include in the communications plan. There's a few others, but I think those are the highlights.
Well, thank you, Lee. And I'd like to highlight one that we really are focusing on this year, and it's coming out of a couple of resolutions we've had for the last 2 years. And that is really working on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also developing, Spanish language offerings for those of our members who feel more comfortable speaking in Spanish and English. There's over 40 million individuals in the United States who do have Spanish as a primary language. And so it's our first really efforts. The board approved $20,000 in our budget for these efforts this year, and you're seeing that already come to fruition. This year for the DC Leadership Conference, we did our registration as a bilingual registration form. We did our imperatives bilingual. We are going to have a Spanish wrap-up show at the end of each day with our DC Leadership Conference, and we are identifying about 6 hours of highlighted coverage throughout the DC Leadership Conference that will be translated to Spanish and put out as podcast and made available on one of our ACB broadcast channels. I hope this has been helpful. We wanted to take an opportunity today to share with you what EOS and Traction calls the Vision Traction Organizer. We also have a 3-year kind of mid-range plan. It's kind of in between the 1-year plan and the 5-year plan, and that's available if people would like to to talk to us more about it. But we're kind of getting towards the end of our time here today. Thank you all for being part of our presentation today. We hope you have learned a little about EOS and the Vision Traction Organizer. And we will make available to you the vision portion of the VTO on our website in the next week or two. The ACB core values are already available. And now we'd like to take the opportunity for you all to ask Eric and I some questions. So you can write to questions@acb.org. Again, that's questions@acb.org, or contact Janet Dickelman at 651-428-5059. Again, that's 651-428-5059, and share your questions, and Janet will read them out, and Eric and I would love to take about 10 or 15 minutes and answer your questions. And we hope you have enjoyed the presentation today. And Eric and Lee, thank you so much for all you do for the American Council of the Blind.
A logo, ACB in print and braille, American Council of the Blind, together for a bright future.